I shot a stoner metal music video with my C70, some vintage lenses, some creative filters, a bunch of haze, and some interesting lighting techniques, and I had some friends filming behind the scenes footage so that we can dissect it all now. So first off, the aspect ratio. It was shot in 2:3:5:1, which is the same aspect ratio that you are watching right now. The C70 luckily does allow you to dial in your aspect ratio. They're all built into the camera, and you can even dial in the exact opacity you want on your LCD screen. Also, an important thing to mention, if you're planning on using an aspect ratio like this and uploading to YouTube, you cannot use end cards. So do me a favor and click on one of my other videos without YouTube's help when you're done watching this one. Most of the video was shot on my vintage Helios 44-2 58mm lens, but I also used my Sigma 24 and 50 paired with creative filters. My last video was a deep dive all into the creative filters that I purchased and tested in this music video, so if you're interested in more details, check out the card up there. So the first thing I set up was the backlights because I knew I wanted flares. I set up one 120D behind the drummer, which acted both as kind of his key light and as his backlight and flare light when I was to the side. And if it hit the cymbals enough, it would also create flares off of the drum kit. And I wanted the background to basically fall into complete black darkness so that you couldn't see too much of the basement that we were in. All of my lights were dialed back to their absolute lowest settings. I obviously didn't want his face in complete darkness. I wanted it to be properly exposed, even if I wanted the background to be completely black. So to key him, I set up my last large light, a 300D. I wasn't quite sure how to use my 300D to light this lead singer without spilling all over the basement and bringing up the shadows to a point where you could see the detail that I didn't want. So I decided to use my custom V-flat bounce board. I brought it with me just to use as potential negative fill, but it occurred to me that I have a slight malfunction in my V-flat that I built. There is a centimeter or so gap between the folded up sides. So I shined the 300D through that little crack to create a beam of light to just hit the lead singer on the far side of his face. But of course, this V-flat was doing what it was also intended to do, which is bouncing a bunch of light off the back, which was then bouncing in off the walls and into the basement. So I rigged up a sound blanket with some C-stands behind the V-flat to cut all of the light that would be coming out of where it's supposed to be coming out. So now we're just left with that little sliver of light. And I really liked this narrow beam of a key light that the lead singer was kind of able to shift in and out of, which kind of gave it a cool, mysterious vibe. So speaking of spill, my second backlight, which was giving a flare to the shots of the lead singer, did not have a Fresnel lens or a barn door set because I only owned one and it was already on the drummer's 120D backlight. We were shooting in a basement studio with white drop ceilings that absorbed light very easily, and just like the background, I wanted the ceiling to be as dark as possible and draw the least amount of attention to itself as possible. One of our BTS shooters and all-around crafty guy, Kevin, had the idea to gaff tape a baseball cap to the top of the 120D that would flag off any light shooting up into the drop ceiling. Who needs expensive modifiers when you have hats and creative thinking? And the last lights in frame were the practicals that the band already owned. Some LEDs in the ceiling that we set to green, and these little LED pucks that we set to the same green and put under the acrylic drum kit. I think the green color palette just kind of felt natural given the subject matter.
What's up? It's your boy Nick, just chilling, this is Tobacco.
But that green really came into play once we started adding the haze. The band owned a hazer for live performances, and I also had this can of haze. I've just really wanted to use this and I haven't had an excuse to yet.
That's incredible.
We decided just to use the hazer for the last chorus of the song when the band changed outfits. That way we didn't have to deal with consistency of levels of haze throughout the entire shoot, and it would kind of heighten the last section of the song. And when we pumped in all of that haze, the black levels in the room were lifted, which is to be expected. But one thing that I didn't expect to happen was for the green to become so prominent. The haze basically just absorbed all of the LED light and made everything super green, which isn't really something that I expected. I haven't worked with haze a bunch, but I thought it looked cool. The one thing that I did intentionally want to happen with the Haze was create volumetric lighting through the 120D with the barn doors and Fresnel. And we all loved how it looked, especially our BTS shooter, Kevin.
Oh, dude, I'm just like, oh yeah, my footage looks so good over here. Maybe it'll get used. Fuck, man, it looks so scary right now. It's perfect. God damn. Sorry, I'm so good. Okay.
Kevin, we're literally suffocating.
All right, you ready? All right, here we go.
So Nick, the frontman of this band, was the one who came up with the entire story and sourced all the props. I came to him asking to film the band perform so that I could test out some lens filters, but he took it, ran with it, and really made it into an actual music video and not just a performance video. For the behind the scenes video I'm making, how would you describe the story that we're telling?
We're searching the vacant snowland for the magic substance that will allow us to breathe and be free.
We filmed the B-roll out on a lake that we had access to at sunset, and we got those beautiful blue flares from the Helios and that delicious weird swirly bokeh in the trees from all that depth, really playing to the strengths of the Helios. And then we waited for the sun to go down so that we could film a Zelda-inspired gag with opening a case to have practical lights, the green pucks that we used in the drum kit, shine on the characters' faces and illuminate their bag. But the LEDs weren't really strong enough to get what we had envisioned. So inside of After Effects, I did a quick roto brush, soloed out that layer, brightened it up, shifted the tint towards green, bumped up the saturation and feathered it, and Bob's your uncle. And that brings us to the final portion, the edit. It was super quick because the band played to a pre-recording of the song, so I just had to line up the first hit of each take, nested all the footage, turned it into a multicam sequence, watched it through a few times to pick my best takes, and for any sections that didn't really have good takes, I would just delete the footage, and that became the natural hole to plug in with the B-roll. I played around with some different creative LUTs. I tested a few out and decided on the Tropic Color Joker LUT at 50%. And you can see off and on right here. It gives it like a teal and orange look, but with very boosted greens, which obviously play well to our color palette. And there's an affiliate link in the description to Tropic Color's LUTs if you're interested. If you want to check out the full music video, link is in the description. And if you want to learn more about the lenses and filters used in this music video, link to my deep dive on that topic is also in the description.
If you don't like this video and subscribe, then I'm gonna have to come to your house and click the like button for you.
Now that you know, you just breathe out. Game changer.